Hello everyone and welcome to the Ghost Castle part of the Chameleon Twist speedrunning tutorial series. Ghost Castle is the final level of the game regardless of which category you're doing, and has some parts that are pretty tricky. Let's get into it. In the first room of Ghost Castle, there are some staircases and then a left or right arrow. You want to go to the left because the right side is very slow. That'll lead you up to this door, where you'll enter a room with a fireplace. This room looks different on the Japanese version, and I'll show that in a second. But the strategy is the same. You just run to the other side of the room and go to the next door. For the Japanese version of this room, the fireplace is a lot further back. And these fires will all spawn from it. Generally, I like to run along the diagonal of these white tiles to get to the end. In this room, you'll want to come up to the corner, or the edge, at the corner of the two tiles, the two different colored tiles here. This room is not on a global timer, like Kids Land and Desert Castle were, so it's a little bit easier to get this strategy. But when you come in, you want to grab the pole and spin on it as soon as possible. The reason that you walked up that far is because if you didn't, you'd hit this wall over here. These barrels are also tricky. Make sure you stay in the center of them, because even if you're slightly off, the game will prevent you from jumping because you're on a slope now. This last one is particularly the worst about that. Here's where the left and right side converge, and it's just a room with some sandals and stairs. Jump over the sandals and run up. Stay to the left side because that's where your door is. And then enter the door. This room is also not on a global timer. Make sure you jump over the sections that have holes in it. And when you get around to this platform, that's the only one you can make it up to the next door on. In this next room, there's a couple strategies that are going to persist for a few rooms. First of all, on the US, there are more candles in this room. And that doesn't really matter. That just means there's a couple more flames spawning behind you, and you gotta watch out a little bit more. As you run through this room, you want to grab either 3 or 4, or a whole bunch of fires. We're gonna start by looking at the 3 or 4 strategy. Going into the next room, there are some mirrors that are RNG. I always aim for this one first, because it takes less time to turn and shoot that way than it does to turn all the way around and shoot that one. But if you have to shoot both, then you're obviously going to lose time there. But that's RNG, what are you going to do? Entering the next room, you're going to be buffering a straight left shot. That will hit the second candle, which spawns this platform. These platforms spawn in RNG manners, so make sure that you hit them, or jump on them as soon as possible, and then shoot as soon as possible to make sure you know where you're going. On the US version, which is what I'm currently on, these fires spawn significantly slower. So it takes quite a while to get to the other side of this room. Once you reach this platform, another fire will spawn at the end. And that's helpful in making this room go faster. And you always want to grab one more before leaving this room. Now let's go back and look at the other strategy. For your other strategy, you're going to try to spawn as many fires as you can, especially towards the end of the room. So you kind of want to zigzag around here, get a bunch spawned, and then let them get a little bit closer, and grab as many as you can. You will definitely be walking slower here. The mirrors are still gone from when I just broke them doing the other strategy, and you still want to go in with doing a straight left buffer. But after that, you kind of just want to spray and pray, and hope that you hit a bunch of platforms. This one worked out pretty nicely, and I hit quite a few, and that lets me get across a little bit faster. This strategy is definitely more prominent on the US version of the game, because of how slow these fires spawn. Something else to note about this room is that the first and last platforms are always skippable, but sometimes you can also skip platforms in between that. They might be difficult jumps, but they are possible. Usually this one and that one will end up being the easiest to skip, Sometimes it's very far apart like that and you can't, but generally those are the ones that are going to be closest together. You never want to skip this one though because of it spawning in an extra flame. For the Japanese version, the candles don't start until very farther out. You can go around where I did or close to the wall. I find that way easier, and I definitely recommend to do the 3 fire method for the Japanese version, and I'll show you why. You still want to enter this room doing the buffer to the left, and then use your other shot if you have one to hit the next candle. But as you can see, these fires move quite a bit faster and spawn quite a bit faster. And they spawn 2 at a time now, as well. You can still skip platforms here in the Japanese version, and you always still want to skip the first and last candle. And also, I recommend highly to take one into the next room from this room. In this room, there's another few strategies again. So the easiest one is to run along the end, and then either go through here in the fires, it's a little bit more difficult, or here where there's a slightly larger gap. Let me show you what those look like quickly. The other strategy here is a little bit more inconsistent, and it takes quite a bit of practice. It's called barrel jump. You want to enter this room hitting L on the controller so that you can switch to free cam mode. Once you're in, hit C right 4 times, and then jump across this, and that'll boost you forward to make the jump. This saves a couple seconds, and you'll hit L as you're exiting, but you cannot make that jump with 2 fires in your mouth because it slows you down too much. It is a very tight jump. The next room is also another one of those candle rooms, but these fires have a special property not to light them. So you need to bring a fire from the previous room in order to do that. As you enter, do a down left buffer in order to hit the first candle. These platforms are not skippable, and they spawn much further apart. On the English version of the game, you want to stay on this 3rd platform because it can cause that first fire to spawn again, which is very helpful since these do spawn so slowly. And again, when you reach the 3rd to last candle, the final fire will spawn again, allowing you to get through here faster. Entering the next room, you still want to do the down left shot buffer. Then you get 1 fire here to hit this. The platforms despawn significantly faster here. So grab the next 2, move on. Grab the next 2 and move on. Grab the next 2 and move on. On this platform, never ever grab fires, and I'll show you why. So what I would normally do is jump to the 2nd to last and then grab those 2. But if I grab fires here, 2 spawned there, and they are very difficult to avoid. It very often leads to death. So you never want to grab from where I just did. Anyways, if you had grabbed 2 where I said to, you would end up with 1 left here, entering this room, and you still have 1 for the mirror now. This is another mirror room. If you bring a fire in here, that's great. You can hit the mirror faster. I generally aim for this mirror first because, again, turning is less prominent. But these are RNG, and the fires will get in your way. It's definitely easiest to jump and shoot them to make the shot, and that's the best way to get through this. On the English version, I'd recommend grabbing another fire after shooting so that you can bring another one into the next room. If you bring a fire into the next room, you'll be able to shoot this guy off screen so you don't have to try to dodge his fires. These guys shoot very, very quickly and are very annoying. So you want to enter here and shoot towards him, and you'll hear him get knocked off over there. If you don't bring a fire into this room, then you can try to dodge him, but it usually doesn't work. And then the next guy that you need to dodge is this one here. Oftentimes I still have a fire in my mouth on the Japanese version. If you want, you can jump into the door and hit B, and it'll shoot it as you're walking and save you a couple frames. The spawner isn't here in the Japanese version, so you don't have to worry about that. To dodge the last guy, you want to jump at this green line at a mid-jump, and then run exactly parallel to this wall. If you turn around too quickly, you will hit the fire on your way out. This is the plank room or the boardwalk room. It's called either thing by the community. There's two main strategies here. The first way is the intended method. Just run across the planks until you get to the end of the room. When you get to here, it's better to do a neutral vault if you can. This one you have to do a full vault in order to make. Jump across here instead of spinning. It's much, much easier. Just trust me on that. And then continue running around. And this guy will often get in your way, so it's easiest to kill him. And then you can run through, but you can jump over him if there's no fires in the way. And that will lead you into the boss. Also from the intended way, you can do some jumps across sections if you're feeling risky. It saves a little bit of time. But that's how that would look. Something like that. Like I said, that guy can definitely get in your way, so it's probably best to kill him. The other way is something called Cuss Vault. This is the fastest way to do the room, and it was a technique found by Custom, who found it in 2017. Ellie improved it by finding a better angle, but the basis of the technique is you're going to jump on this pole. You're going to jump on this pole, and you're going to get up to the planks up top from it. Now, as you just saw, the neutral vault is not high enough to make it. So in order to do this technique, you need full momentum. Let me just show you how it's done. That's what Cuss Vault looks like. It is a very frame-type window to get on top of the pole. You can do it from any direction. Whether you want to jump from this side or jump from this side. Obviously this side's a little bit slower because you have to move out of the way. But it is possible. And also, you can do it from most angles. You definitely want to be perpendicular to the plank, because otherwise you will bonk your head on it. But if you are underneath of it, like I showed you in the first attempt, you will clip through the plank and need slightly less height, meaning your momentum is less important. Still important, but less important than the other methods. It's also worth noting that sometimes the pole can just kill you for no reason whatsoever. If that happens there, that means you did the trick right for all intents and purposes. But for some reason, part of the geometry of the pole didn't like where you were, so it canceled your tongue vault and killed you. So if that happens, don't get mad at yourself, you can just get mad at the game for it. That's what it looks like from that side. Really find whatever side works best for you and do it there. Now, there's also a tricky spin here, where if you come to the crossroads of these boards, I'm going to kill this guy real quick. If you come to the crossroads of these boards, and you've made Cuss Vault without having too much stalling time, there won't be any fires in your way, you can grab this pole from quite far away, and you'll be able to spin over to this. If you've done barrel jump, your camera will be a little different, and it'll give you more of a visual cue. However, I do this one purely off of the audio. And that'll let you get over here. You can do this with the regular intended walking across the planks strat, but it's tricky enough that I recommend going for it when you're ready for Cuss Vault anyways. Alright, that gets us to the final boss. So the final boss is named Pile of Books for absolutely no reason. It's incredibly different between the US and Japanese versions. The Japanese version of this boss alone is why I warn players to start on the US version. The first phase of this boss is the same between the two versions other than the camera angle. Boss is going to stick out the arm to our left, then right, then left, then right again, and then he will do a spin move with the arm that's closest to you. There's the left, there's the right, there's the left, there's the right. It comes out a little bit faster. And finally, he's going to walk towards you, stick out the arm closest to you, and spin around. We have names for all the possible cycles that you can make on this first phase, so let's go over those real quick. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about these cycles that you can make on the first phase of the final boss. The first one that we're going to talk about is the half cycle. What you want to do is you want to get close to this arm, hit it all 4 times, then come over here and hit that one 4 times. If this left arm comes back out, you are on the next one, regardless if you broke it on your first try or not. But that's how you do half cycle. The next cycle is the 3/4 cycle. It's called that because you're getting 3 out of 4 of the arm movements. So in this one, you're running up and you are hitting at least most of that arm. You have to get all of the right arm and then finish off the one on the left. Usually this is what people get in runs at the high level. Half cycle is somewhat inconsistent because any one little mistake will cause you to miss it. Because by the time you've done one extra tongue and reacted to it, this arm will re-extend. Now let's talk about the standard 1 cycle. This is generally what people should be going for towards the beginning. This is all the arms coming out all the times. So you're only able to get a couple there and a couple here. Then you come back, get that one, and then finish off this one. This is a good point to talk about. You should try to aim for killing all of this one in the first time it comes out so you can get that 3/4 cycle. Even if you have to delay getting this one a little bit, if this one goes back with all cracked, you are more likely to get 3/4 cycle. And finally, we have what's called the 1.5 cycle. Basically, this is what happens if you have missed just a little bit. Oh no, I missed the blue ball there, but we got all of them on the right arm. So now we're going to stand to the left so he exerts the left arm, and we hit it while it's out. So that way he moves on to the second phase immediately after finishing that spin. Everything past the 1.5 cycle is just called 2, and then 2.5, then 3, then 3.5. Usually you'll get it before then, even for beginner players, but they're there just as indicators of how long it took you to do that. The half cycle being the fastest saves about 3 or 4 seconds over the 3/4 cycle. 3/4 cycle saves about 3 or 4 seconds over 1 cycle. 1 cycle saves closer to 5 or 6 seconds over 1.5. The second phase is where things get a little bit trickier. On the US version, this boss fight is pretty okay for the second phase. He's going to move in some direction until he hits a wall, and then he's going to fire shots at you in either a straight shot pattern or in a curve shot pattern. The strategy for the US version is to grab as many as you can during a straight shot, and then when he shoots a curve shot, fire away. And that's it. That's how you beat that boss. If you aren't able to kill him in one hit with one of these, he fully regenerates all of his health. You can tell by how much bigger he gets. So if I'm hitting him, you see he gets a little bit smaller, but then he regrows. So you have to kill him in one go in order for it to count. So when you get to this boss in the English version, you pray for a straight shot, and then you wait for a curve shot. And once you get it, that's GG. You've won the fight. You can, technically, kill him off of any shot, especially if you get a curve shot first. You can just absorb the curve shot. Let me show you that. This is still enough balls to finish him off. But the main thing is, you want to have some shot into a curve shot, because killing him off of a straight shot is very difficult. I'll show you why. If he fires another straight shot, he will turn towards you and shoot at you. The straight shot amount is also RNG, so you can get a fewer amount of balls or a larger amount of balls. You always have enough to kill him, but sometimes it will mess with when you need to fire in order to kill him off of that. So here's what it looks like killing him off of a straight shot from a straight shot. It's much, much harder to do and a lot less consistent. For the Japanese fight, I'm going to use a diagram to explain it first. This boss is very, very difficult and is 100% the hardest intended part of the game. Here's how the fight works. The boss, starting here in the second phase, will move in some direction. It's generally like this, that, and then the mirrors of those. Now, unlike the English version of the boss, this boss will move more than one time potentially. So let's just say he moves up to this. He will always move to a wall. After that, he's either going to move straight back or at about a 90-degree angle. Wherever his entrance was, it's about 90 degrees out until he hits the next wall. Then he either stop there, go back, or go about 90 degrees another direction, the other direction. He can move a maximum of 3 times though. So if he's moved 3 times, you know for sure he's going to shoot. So, first things first, you'd really like him to only move once. It can get really hairy if he starts moving, say to here, which is the longest distance, then go straight backwards, and then go straight backwards. That just wasted 10 seconds compared to him moving from here to here and stopping. Now, once he has moved to one of those positions, he's either going to do a straight shot, like this, or he will start at the left and do a curve shot to the right with far more balls than the English version. You prefer getting the curve shot. Like I said in the English version of it, he does shoot a random amount of balls from the straight shot, and that can make a bigger difference here than it does in the US version. What you'd really like to see is going up to here and shooting a curve shot. Then your Chameleon absorbs that curve shot by grabbing like that. They'll stick the tongue out kind of like that. And then what you want to do is shoot as it starts to move. Because this version of the boss will never stop to let you hit it. If it's shooting a straight shot, it will turn again to match you, to react to where you're shooting it from, blocking you again. Same as the US version. However, the curve shot, it will immediately run away as soon as you start shooting, regardless of where it is in the shot. So, you really need to get used to predicting which direction it's going to move and then reacting accordingly. For instance, if you absorbed the curve shot here, you knew that it came from right here, so it's either going to move this way or that way. I don't know if there's necessarily a preference of which one you want it to move. Honestly, I would probably aim towards this way first because it's going to be the harder one to follow as it's going to be further away from you as you're shooting. So then reactively shoot towards it if it goes this way. But if the boss decides to, it can only move once this time instead of 3 times. And then it'll shoot at you and block your entire shot. Or maybe you misread it and now it's moved twice and you've misread twice. You completely lost your chance to kill the boss in that attempt. This boss is very, very RNG heavy, but almost all of the RNG can be negated by skill. So, to reiterate, you mostly want to try to shoot it while it's doing a curve shot still, because it's still the easiest way to kill it. You honestly want to go for the kill on the first shot if you're in a good position. And this is the hardest part of the speedrun, and it's at the end. Potentially. Kids Land is probably harder. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the game. I'll show you a couple scenarios of me finishing this boss off, and then we'll get to the credits here. So we got bad movement RNG, but not the worst. And then I was able to get this shot off just in time and reacted to where he was going. It really is between this and the Kids Land final room for the hardest part for beginners in this game. Alright, we got good movement RNG, but bad shot. So it's really hard to hit him when he's doing this. We'll go ahead and go for it. Very hard to follow where he was going. We got a curve shot this time, so we'll go ahead and shoot at him. Very close to killing him, but he regenerates fully. There we go. We followed the movement correctly, and we finished him off. That was as good as it could get with the movement that I got. I would be very happy with that one in a run. That was close to perfect. Just a 2 movement instead of a 1. Straight shots are definitely the hardest thing to deal with because of them being RNG of how many he's going to shoot. But that's another great way to handle the boss. If you get a straight shot, you usually have more balls to throw, and then a curve shot will make it move immediately. This is about the worst you can get. We managed to kill him off of it, though. And I think that's where we'll go ahead and stop doing the boss. So let's wrap this up. Overall, Ghost Castle isn't a terrible level, barring the final boss. It's certainly easier and more consistent than the big 3 in Kids Land. And that's the end of the tutorial. I hope you all enjoyed this series, and I look forward to seeing your runs on the leaderboard. I'd like to give some shoutouts now. Thank you to Kefka14 and MroBros for helping me put together this tutorial by looking over the videos and the script. Shoutouts to all the top level runners in this game, pushing it as far as it has been pushed. Shoutouts to Custom, Ellie, Alaris, and everyone else who contributed new strats and pushed the meta for the game. Shoutouts to all the Chameleon Twist fans who have been in our chats for years while we grinded the game out. And most importantly, shoutouts to you for being interested in running the game. I hope to see you playing soon. In the description below, you'll see a full playlist for the tutorial series, as well as get a link to the Chameleon Twist Speedrunning Discord server, and a link to the speedrun.com page. Check out the Discord, and we're always happy to help new players as usual. Additionally, I've linked YouTube and Twitch pages of everyone mentioned in the series in this video, so be sure to check them. Be sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and comment on these videos to make it easier to find for those who want them. And thanks for watching. See you soon.